Hi, hello guys. So my name is Nicolas, PhD candidate at Cardiff University, and I'm also an energy consultant at a company called DNV. So today we're talking about how blockchain can be used to unlock energy flexibility. So I will spend a few minutes trying to introduce the energy sector and the flexibility market. Then we'll talk about how flexibility can address those challenges, and then we'll end up with some use cases for Ethereum in flexibility markets. So the traditional power grid normally can be characterized by a unilateral flow of electricity, which means that electricity flows from the big generation factories down towards the network, down in the consumers' houses. So normally it's dependent on fossil fuels, so we had the luxury in the past to generate most of our electricity from burning coal or burning natural gas. And it's also a centralized generation and distribution kind of system where all the generation of electricity comes from conglomeration of those big power plants. So nowadays, we are going through what we call a renewables adoption. So this renewable adoption is characterized by the transition to renewable energy, which means that we have a much higher adoption of competitive renewable energy sources. Secondly, there's a need to solve the intermittency change. So basically, how can we integrate the fluctuation of those renewable energy assets into the power network? And finally, we have an increasing role of flexibility services. So as you can see on the slide, flexibility is the ability of an energy system to shift its generation and consumption in reaction to external signals. So how can we actually make the power grid more smart and more flexible to make it able to reach net zero? It's a big challenge. So one big driver for that is digitalization. And in all sectors, and in particular in the energy sector, we can see a very big push towards digitalization. So we can see technology adoption. So we have more smart meters that are empowering the users to have much more informed decision about their consumption patterns of energy. We have distributed energy sources and low carbon technologies that allow users to actually generate at their own site more electricity to be able to financially, to have more financially optimized decision when it comes again to the energy spendings. Secondly, we have the transformation towards a smart grid. So in here we have smart energy systems, we have distributed architecture of those smart energy systems, which is how all those independent energy islands are communicating. And we also have things like data management. Because of those smart meters, we have much more data flowing in the system. And because of that, there's also a risk for cybersecurity. Lately, there's the blockchain technology. So all the innovative technologies, in particular blockchain, AI, and machine learning could be another good candidate. So they are enabling this energy decentralization through transparency and public verifiability. So when it comes to the flexibility markets, in particular in Europe, there are a few challenges that are really important that we should be able to fix before we can jump into those kind of systems. Blockchain and Ethereum offers a really good opportunities to address those challenges. So firstly, we have coordination and communication. So network operators and flexibility prosumers, which are the guys that can generate and consume electricity, need to be able to interact in one environment. So blockchain can offer that environment for them. Secondly, we have technical integration. So we need to understand how all those flexibility assets of things like solar panels, EVs, or batteries can take part into the big power grid. So for that, actually being able to see the data but not integrating with them in a distributed manner is a very important characteristic. And then we are looking at market mechanisms. So currently, we don't really have any very good flexibility market mechanisms or market clearing mechanism. There has been quite a lot of trial projects, but we don't have anything in place yet. So decentralized market clearing could be a very good opportunity to solve this. Data management and standardization. So currently you have a lot of market facilitators, centralized softwares that you can use to monetize your flexibility services, but they are not standard. So they have different nomenclatures, they have different way of actually defining the market. So again, having everything in one distributed place makes a lot of sense. Regulatory and policy frameworks. So in here, the blockchain offers automatic compliance reinforcing with regulatory and policy requirements. So the ability of the regulatory bodies to be able to oversee the whole process in a transparent manner and to be able to step in wherever they feel that they need to step in. This is utterly important, and this is a very big governmental characteristic. And finally, availability, reliability, and settlement. So we need to increase the data security protections, and we can do that in a blockchain space through tokenization. We can use zero-knowledge proofs and automated cryptocurrency payments, again, to add on top of the solution. So this is the big scene, and now we will talk about the three, what I would consider to be the most important use cases. So generally, if you want to develop a decentralized flexibility marketplace, firstly, you need to be able to decentralize the marketplace itself. Secondly, you need to be able to decentralize and digitalize the electricity or flexibility transactions. And lately, you need to be able to settle those transactions. So there are three use cases with three problems each. So if you look at the first one, basically the problem is to have a reliable and efficient method for contracting flexibility services. So again, in the blockchain world, we have a decentralized flexibility service solution with an efficient, transparent, and secure approach. Secondly is a token-based technique for digitalizing and recording flexibility. So instead of actually loading the decentralized blockchain with so much energy data, we can use tokenization to actually minimize the amount of data that has to be stored via adding the same level of functionality. And thirdly, that's about settlement. So zero-knowledge proofs are a very good driver to energy settlement, as you can use techniques to prove that you've delivered the flexibility without revealing very sensitive information about your flexibility or energy assets. So let's take the first one. So this is a framework for flexibility services contracting in electricity distribution networks. So what have we done here? So it's a comprehensive platform that's catering to all the stakeholders in the sphere of the industrial flexibility trading. So it's secure, transparent, and it fosters trustless settlements of flexibility transactions. On top of that, we have a market clearing algorithm that allows the contracts to be clear via something that we called a closed auction framework. All of them are reaching towards robust systems with tamper-resistant capacities that are generally designed for the secure storage of historical flexibility and contracting data. Secondly, there's the token-based technique for digitalizing and recording flexibility. So it's facilitating this really big trend of digitalizing flexibility assets, and it's therefore, representing the transformation of the analog system within the digital ecosystem. So in reality, what we have done there, instead of you having to record the flexibility transactions on the green, we are minting and burning what we call the debt tokens in order to sustain that. So if you need to give me 10 kilowatts of electricity, I'm going to mint 10 tokens, and then you're going to burn them step by step while you keep generating you keep sending that flexibility to me. In this manner, we'll be able to record all the flexibility transactions with this mechanism without actually recording any flexibility data. So that allows us to ensure the traceability of flexibility transaction, as I said, driven by the mint and burn mechanism. On top of that, you do need to have an escrow system that is designed to interact with the token mechanism. So the escrow system involves both parties locking in a financial escrow. After the contract has been completed, the financial escrow is being unlocked. The third part is the zero-knowledge part, which is the proof of flexibility delivery settlement. So currently, if you want to take part in the flexibility marketplace, you as an energy asset owner need to build an API from your energy data, and the network operator or the buyer needs to connect to the API. He needs to see your energy profile, and that's how they are calculating how much electricity or flexibility you are delivering to them. I personally think that this is quite challenging when adopted at scale, because there's a lot of sensitive information being stored on those centralized solutions, and that's a very high incentives for cyber attacks. So what we thought that we could do, we can give them the same amount of information with a much smaller amount of data. So we have developed this zero-knowledge proof mechanisms where I can prove to you how much flexibility I have delivered without you seeing anything on my energy profile. So the only thing that you can see is, again, the amount of flexibility you have delivered at a certain time, and that's it, and then the payment for that flexibility. So I think we had it was a talk yesterday when we talked over the fact that, okay, so we have all those mechanisms and all those protocols, and they don't communicate with each other, and we need to work together. So this is what I did. So the 3 use cases that I've just presented to you, they all work together. So in reality, you have the network operator actor that is releasing what we call conglomerations of energy contracts that are called competitions, and each competition has service windows, which are actually the contracts. On the other side, the flexibility prosumer is really logging in their flexibility assets on the platform. The first smart contract is basically allowing the flexibility prosumer to deploy the flexibility bits, and it also allows, through the clause-based auction mechanism, the network operator to select the winner. As I said, both of them are locking in the financial escrow that to increase the incentives to take part in this market, we are sending that into a yield farming algorithm. On the other side, when you look at the flexibility prosumer address, each flexibility asset has a smart meter associated with it that is in charge of responding to the data delivery. So that smart meter, it commits the flexibility data location that is being stored in a decentralized data storage. From the decentralized storage, we can issue a proof that the data has been uploaded there correctly, and the amount of flexibility that you had to deliver is actually the flexibility that you have delivered. And we can send that proof to the network operator. What does that mean? Is that the network operator can prove that the correct data has been uploaded, and that the flexibility that he was required to deliver has or has not been delivered. So he can accept the proof. While he accepts the proof, then we are going into the yield farming algorithm, and then we are releasing the financial escrows and the yield farmed. So based on the adjustments on the market, but everybody, if they accepted, if the contract went successful, then all the money goes to the flexibility prosumer. If not, all the money goes to the network operator. And I think the key takeaway of this conversation is that blockchain and decentralized solutions are a beautiful family of technologies. And we need to try to find solutions or problems in other sectors where DLT or blockchain is a very good candidate. I think, based on my experience with the energy sector, I do really think that we need more energy people, talk to more blockchain people, and try to solve the solution in the energy sector. Thank you. Thank you very much, and I will leave the floor for questions. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for your presentation. What role do microgrids have in the energy transition, and is there any way to repurpose pyramids in order to help us reach the carbon goals?
Thank you. That is a very interesting question. I think had a chat about microgrids before. So in reality, microgrids are a very complex phenomena. The microgrid is the ability to have basically a grid that's adjacent to your. That's right. The adjacent to your power grid that's self-sustained. So we call that behind-the-meter power grid. The problem with that is that you mess up the balance of generation and consumption. So generally, microgrids are interesting, maybe a good candidate for peer-to-peer blockchain-based solutions, but we definitely need more work into that space to validate that.
Thanks for the talk. Can you comment, please, on one blockchain which is already running on Cosmos called Chain for Energy? Because I think they actually strive to deliver the very similar thing that you just described.
So yes, so I just heard of them actually 2 days ago. I already set it up in the process of setting up a few conversations with them. But yes, so they are definitely there. And then if you look back to, I think it was 2018, it was a big push of blockchain work in the energy sector. I think overall, based on my research, maybe to identify around 190 companies that they were doing work in the energy sector. But maybe back in those days, the blockchain sector was a bit too initial than how it is today. So we definitely need more projects on the same level of maturity. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for the talk. I think we all know the energy sector is a very heavily regulated sector. And the way that it is now, or what we've seen with blockchain adoption, is that there has been a lot of POCs, but these have all been within individual companies, basically. And I think the conclusion of these POCs is, well, we can basically do this in a centralized system as well. And so adopting blockchain technology would require a lot of these existing companies to give up a lot of the power and control that they currently have over the grid. And so how could that work? How could you get these companies to actually do that?
Thank you. That's an amazing question, and that's something that definitely keeps me up at night. So absolutely. So in terms of the big power companies in the energy sector, they do like centralized solution. They like centralized solution because we tested them and they work and they have a lot of control over their system. So the driving factor to move from centralized to decentralized, that's much more transparent, much more fair, reliable, cyber secure, it's the government, because the government dictates the legislation, and the government legislation dictates the future trends and the future strategies that all those power companies are adopting. So we need to make the government understand that this is the way to go. If you have this system that's transparent, you can look at the system, you can look at all the transactions that are happening. It's much easier for you to check it and some other solutions. But in reality, I do think that the drive should start from the government down to the legislation bodies and then down to the energy sector. Thank you.
Thanks for the talk. Just a question. You say that Zeta Kappa proof may help smart meter to be not attacked by cyber attack. I would ask to know which kind of cyber attack do you think that smart meters of prosumer may be involved in, and how does Zeta Kappa proof really solve this problem?
Absolutely. So I am not the person who worked on the development of the ZKP, but I can definitely put you in contact with him. As far as I understand it, the problem is not necessarily with the cybersecurity problem is not necessarily associated with the smart meter. It's associated with the fact that you are sending your energy, everybody's sending the energy profile to a centralized solution. And I think it's more about the risk of someone breaking into the centralized solution and stealing your energy data. As if I was having access to your energy data, I can tell you a lot about the patterns of your life. When you are at work, when you're holiday, when you're sleeping. And you really, I think that's too much of a high risk I think the risk is big enough that it's worth to try to make a change. And this is why we thought about introducing zero knowledge proofs.
Hi, I missed the beginning, but I used to listen to this Tyler guy on YouTube, and he was always talking about energy web. Is this anything similar or not?
I don't think that I know the guy. Who was it again?
It was a token energy web, and they were doing. It sounded like they were doing a similar kind of thing.
Oh no! I'm not very up to date with that one. I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
My question is not very technical, but I'm just curious about your personal opinion. You mentioned that to have all this possible, you need more conversation between the blockchain people and the energy people. So from your opinion, which country or which region of the people, of the government or of the country that you think have greatest potential to push this forward? Or what kind of factor that needed to push all this forward, to push the energy sector more decentralized and more blockchain integrated?
So I think there are two things here. So I think generally the opinion of the government over digitalization and decentralization is that very important. So for that, again, I will quote Estonia, because that's what everybody does. They're very open-minded there. That's the first thing. You need that kind of mentality in the government that we want to digitalize and we want to use those technologies because they are useful. Secondly, when it comes to how can you actually display the information to them, I think we just need more projects. We need more research. We need more startups, and we just literally need more POCs that use blockchain technologies or other innovative technologies to address problems in the energy sector. And because we are all reaching towards net zero, I think everybody must make a minimum personal contribution. So at least we need to keep informed over it.
Thank you very much.
Sorry. Thank you.
That is all the questions and no more questions online. Thank you very much for the interesting talk.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.